Welcome to Caribbean Impact. I am your co-host, Sheldon Henry, and with me today, I have my co-host, Mr. Pierce Robinson. So today we are joined by a special guest. We are so happy to welcome my good friend, who is also the ambassador of Argentina to Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, the OECS Commission, and also specifically to my country of St. Kitts and Nevis. Ambassador Pandiani is a career diplomat, an attorney at law, an author who specializes in public diplomacy, international cooperation, bringing with him over 30 years of professional experience. Welcome to Caribbean Impact, Ambassador.
It's my pleasure to be in your show, Sheldon.
Yes. So today the ambassador has joined us because, unfortunately, he is currently on a farewell tour as his current tour of duty is soon to be finished. So, Ambassador, it's really, really sad that you're leaving us, and you have made such an incredible impact within the jurisdiction that you've covered, and in such a short time. And since you're on your farewell tour, I would have seen you in a couple of news articles, a few interviews, farewell dinners with the Governor General of Barbados, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and some other cabinet members of the government of Barbados. And I also saw that you had a farewell call with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. And from all of those interactions, I've seen the genuine connections that you have made, and how everyone is going to miss you. So, how are you handling all of this?
Well, normally I try to handle it as naturally as possible. I have already spent 3 years in the Caribbean representing Argentina in the Eastern Caribbean and most of the English-speaking Caribbean countries. And I can tell you, Sheldon, that it has been a privilege and an honor for me to represent my culture, my people, my sports, my arts. Not only I represent my government to your governments, but I represent my people to your people. So basically, in this tour, I can tell you that we achieved a lot of stuff. We achieved many, many goals, and most of them were possible to achieve because of the coordination, because of the cooperation with the governments and the societies of your beautiful islands in the Caribbean. Just to give you one example, I had a conversation a few days ago with your Minister of Foreign Affairs in St. Kitts and Nevis, my friend Mark Brantley, and we were trying to connect new project of cooperation between the two countries. So far, in these only 2 years, we have the opportunity to set up a couple of programs. One of them, for example, was on diplomatic training for St. Kitts and Nevis diplomats. One colleague of you, a young diplomat from St. Kitts and Nevis, had the opportunity to participate in a very important program we have in the Diplomatic Academy in Argentina. So she spent there time and got the opportunity to interact with other diplomats all over the world. It was the first time a Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean country was represented in such an important course. And it was because of the leadership of Mr. Brantley, who is not only a great minister, but also a good friend of mine, that we were able to achieve that goal. Then with your Ministry of Agriculture, also in St. Kitts and Nevis, we put together a beautiful program on apiculture, the production of honey. You in the Caribbean used to have, not far away, but sometime in the past, we used to have a very important honey production in the island. Then, because of hurricanes and storms, that tradition was kind of lost. Now we are trying to get it again. We're trying to get it together. And of course, we helped St. Kitts and Nevis sending experts from Argentina. We sent a group of experts on our behalf, and they were working with your production, with your producers, and they were working with your farmers. And that is a great example of cooperation. I truly believe that cooperation is when you work together, both countries putting something from each side. And I think that the agricultural area is one that we can even go further.
Thank you, Ambassador. Pierce, I know that you wanted to ask the ambassador about his distinguished career.
Sheldon, unfortunately, I'm not listening to your colleague, so probably you can let me know what the question is about, and I go forward with the answer.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Ambassador
no,
Pandiani, thank you very
yes,
much
sir.
for your distinguished service and for joining
Please,
us
it's my
this evening.
pleasure. Thank you.
You have been a career diplomat for almost 30 years.
Yes.
My question to you, given the current circumstances that we're in, how do you see the bilateral relationship expanding with the region, given the complexities now posed by COVID-19?
Well, we need to be creative, probably more creative than ever before, because the pandemic is, of course, an obstacle for our diplomatic relations, but it's also a challenge. Any obstacle in life could be seen as a challenge, as something new you have to address. And I think that COVID, of course, is going to have a big impact on all of us in terms of, making it a little more difficult. In terms of, we cannot send, for example, our experts now because all flights are not available, and some of our borders have been closed. But at the same time, I think that we have new opportunities because of this, online type of cooperation. Let me give you one example. A few days ago, we put it together a very important program of Spanish as a second language for Barbados with the primary schools. We were working with around already 50 students from primary schools in Barbados, and we were teaching them how to speak Spanish. But then COVID hit us, and we decided not only not to stop, but even more, we went further. Instead of having only 50 students, at that time it was in presence type of course, we went to an online course, and we were able to duplicate that number. So we already graduated 100 primary school students from Barbados. And then in the second term, they're going to be doing a more advanced course on Spanish. And now we have 200 already enrolled. So again, COVID could be seen as a problem. It could be seen as an obstacle. But at the same time, it puts in front of us some new opportunities. And we are ready to take them all.
Thank you, Ambassador. Sheldon, over to you.
Okay, so Ambassador, I'm going to be a bit biased here. So since I'm from Kitts and Nevis, how would you describe the current relationship between our countries? And I know you spoke about the diplomatic training and the cooperation in agriculture with the inclusion of honey production. And I know from being a part of the system how sometimes there can be agreements and cooperations between, two countries that the general public might not be aware of. So I'm happy that you shed some light on that. And if you don't mind, I know that you're a big sports fan, specifically football. So tell me a little bit about the bilateral cooperation between St. Kitts and Nevis and Argentina in the field of sports.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure because, as you know, I'm a footballer myself. I really love this sport we call football in Argentina. And we had a very important event last year, which was the signing of a bilateral agreement on cooperation in the field of sports. I personally traveled to St. Kitts and Nevis. I got together with your Minister of Sports, and we had a great opportunity there to further the cooperation, not only in football, but also in cricket and other sports. Cooperation, as I said before, is a two-way highway, or it should be a two-way highway. So we can help you a little bit with football, but we need a lot of help with cricket, for example. Believe it or not, we have cricket in Argentina. We have a national team. We lose most of the games. But but maybe with the help of St. Kitts and Nevis, we will have better opportunities for training for our young athletes. In Barbados, last year, we took a group of young Argentine cricketers to be trained by the best. The West Indies is I would say, the mecca of cricket worldwide. So we took all these players to train with Roland Butcher. Roland Butcher is a Barbadian legend from cricket, from the cricket community in Barbados. He was the first black player to play for the UK, being a Caribbean person, and he was designated our coach for Argentina to compete in the Pan American Games in Peru. So we are helping them because we sent a coach, a football coach, to train your football team. But you are helping us with cricket. So my view is that in the future we will have more of this. We will have more opportunities. Both governments already signed a bilateral agreement. So under that umbrella, all these initiatives are taking place. And I think that it's a way to get our people closer. You know, I believe that diplomatic relations are useful if they get our peoples close or closer. Because, you know, of course, governments are in the middle of the equation of diplomatic relations. But I truly believe that public diplomacy is very important. You need to get involved with the society, with the community. And that has been my style during these 3 years, not only in Barbados, but also in all the countries I am ambassador to.
Yes, and you know, while we're on the topic of strengthening relationships through, you know, interpersonal relationships, I think diplomatic weeks, well, St. Kitts and Nevis Diplomatic Week last year was the first time that you came to St. Kitts and Nevis, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
So what was that experience like for you?
Oh, that was paradise. I can tell you, I had a great experience, not only on the diplomatic side of it, but also in the personal side of it. I remember I went to this beautiful volcano water creek. You know, I think it was Bath.
The Bath Hotel Hot Springs.
The Bath Hotel. And I remember I had at that time some pain in my ankle because I was playing football and I twisted my ankle a couple of weeks before my trip to St. Kitts and Nevis. My friend, Mark Brantley, who I think is going to be probably one of the most important politicians in the Caribbean, together with Mia Motley, I have to tell you that, he recommended me to go to this volcano water to treat my ankle. Believe it or not, 1 or 2 days after I put my ankle in that water, hot water, I felt really, really well. So it was a great trip from the professional point of view because we signed an agreement and we put together a cooperation program on fish waste silage. You know, in Argentina, we treat supposedly our waste and we transform it in proteins, nutrients. So we sent our experts to Nevis to work with your fishing community in order to transform what you catch and send back to the sea as if it was waste and transform it for fertilizers, for animal feeding. And at the same time, I was curing my ankle.
Wow, great. I mean, I'm not surprised because that hot spring is renowned for its healing properties.
Yes, it worked for me, I can tell you that. So if everyone is watching this show with a problem in any joint.
Mr. Ambassador, you'd mentioned...
Go to St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, I just want to ask you some questions around some challenges that,
yes, sir.
Of course, of course, as you know, we're in a global pandemic, and our countries across the region, and including in Argentina, have been hit with challenges that none of us could have foreseen. Right now, of course, Argentina is currently having some challenges with foreign exchange and facing economic turmoil, as well as Caribbean countries. How do you see that sort of complicating the nature of the technical assistance going forward into the future that we can sort of benefit from mutually?
Well, the first we are going to talk about challenges. The first challenge I have to tackle is to control my camera. So I apologize because of the movements, but I'm trying my best. But talking a little more seriously now, of course, all these difficulties in terms of our economy and our crisis in terms of our finance are going to have an impact in not only our own lifestyle in Argentina, but also in our possibility of cooperating with the world. But I can tell you something that is very important, and I want to address your audience with this message. The virus and the economic crisis are really strong, but our friendship is stronger. Our friendship is stronger than the virus. Our friendship is stronger than any economic crisis we are facing right now. So the diplomatic cooperation, the bilateral agreements we have are going to be, without any modification for the next couple of years. We are going to keep working with the St. Kitts and Nevis, with Dominica, with St. Lucia, with Barbados, with the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, because our friendship is permanent. We are facing a hard situation now in Argentina in terms of our finances. As you know, inflation, unemployment, the foreign exchange, all that. If you read the papers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But regardless of that situation, we are politically decided to go ahead with the cooperation, to keep our projects going. Of course, we need to wait now for COVID to be gone in order to send more delegations and experts. They cannot travel now for protocols. But I insist, our friendship, our diplomatic ties are much stronger than any crisis, than any pandemic that can affect us in the present.
Now, Mr. Ambassador, I know you have an event shortly, so I'm going to streamline to my last question.
Please.
What have you learned from the Caribbean region, and how has that informed your style of leadership and diplomacy?
I could say that. Can you repeat the question? I'm not sure I got it.
So the question I asked was, what have you learned from the region, being to all these countries and the OECS, and how has that informed your style of leadership and diplomacy?
Well, my experience in the Caribbean has had an important impact in me as a professional of diplomacy, because I had this opportunity of interacting with the Caribbean societies, and I can tell you that I confirm something that I thought before, which is, if you want to do really diplomacy, you need to connect with the communities. Diplomacy is not a bureaucratic thing anymore. You cannot play a role in diplomacy as you are in the 16th, 17th, 18th century. Diplomacy today is connected with people. So every cooperation project has to be name and faces, people's names. And that's exactly what the impact from my experience in the Caribbean is. To be even a little more conscious about the need to connect with the reality of the communities. If you're working with any project in agriculture, you need to know what the farmers want, not only the government, but what the farmers, what the important social players in each project. So I would say I take with me, as part of my memories from the Caribbean, a lesson that I learned from you guys, which is, I want to make sure I'm an ambassador to benefit the people of my country and the people of your country. If I do that, I will be successful as a diplomat.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Yeah, Ambassador. So now that we've discussed the cooperation, the bilateral cooperation, and the agreements between Argentina and some of the OECS countries along with Barbados. So my final question for you is, what's next?
To Argentina to help my government in this difficult situation we're having. But next is also to take all this knowledge, all this experience from the Caribbean in order to put it in the favor of strengthening our relationship in the future. I had been posted in different times, very, very early in my career. I was posted in Jamaica when I was, a very young diplomat. Now I'm ambassador in the Eastern Caribbean. I can tell you that I wouldn't define myself as a Caribbean expert, but I can define myself as a Caribbean fan. I love the Caribbean. I think it's a beautiful area of the world, very productive in terms of fighting climate change, very conscious about the challenges we have for the environment, and with such a good leaders. I had the privilege to interact daily with Prime Minister Motley. She is probably one of the most promising leaders, not only for the Caribbean, but also for Latin America and the Caribbean. The same so for my friend, I call him the sheriff. Many people in the Nevis Island call him. I think that with those leaders, the Caribbean region is going to be doing a great contribution to the very difficult times that Latin America and the Caribbean we will have to face for the next couple of years at least.
Okay, well, Ambassador, we are so delighted that you were able to join us from your busy schedule, and we hope that that you could join us again sometime in the future. So, and
I promise to prepare the equipment a little better. I'm sorry about the difficulties I have had, but you know what? the message is there. It could be a little more carry next time, but I wanted to share with you this beautiful program. I wish you all the best, and all my heart remains in the Caribbean.
All right. Well, there you have it. Ambassador of Argentine, Ambassador Gustavo Pandiani. And so next time on Caribbean Impact, well, I wouldn't give it away, but our next guest is also really special. And tune in. You could follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep updated with what the discussions we're having and our guests. So until next time, see you later.